I never thought a rainstorm would change my entire life. But there I was, standing in my apartment doorway at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night, staring at my best friend Tyler, soaking wet, shivering, with mascara-streaked tears running down his girlfriend's face visible on his phone screen before he hung up. "Can I stay here tonight?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, man, always." I stepped aside, my heart doing that stupid flutter thing it always did when Tyler was around. The thing I'd spent 6 years carefully hiding, burying, pretending didn't exist. Tyler Matthews had been my best friend since freshman year of college. We met in the most chaotic way possible, both reaching for the last copy of Introduction to Philosophy at the campus bookstore, both refusing to let go, both ending up laughing so hard we got kicked out by security. He bought me coffee as an apology. I bought him lunch. Somehow that turned into study sessions, which turned into gym partnerships, which turned into late-night conversations about everything and nothing. 6 years later, at 24, we'd been through everything together. His dad's heart attack junior year, my mom's remarriage that I wasn't ready for, his first real job, my quarter-life crisis when I dropped out of grad school, breakups, hookups, hangovers, and holidays. We were brothers in everything but blood. Except I'd been in love with him for approximately 5 years and 11 months. And Tyler was straight. Aggressively, confidently, never questioned it, straight. He'd had a parade of girlfriends throughout college. His current girlfriend, Michelle, had been in the picture for 8 months, a record for him. She was beautiful, successful, and from what I could tell, completely in love with him. Which made the scene unfolding in my living room even more confusing. Tyler stood in the middle of my apartment, dripping rainwater onto my hardwood floors, looking more lost than I'd ever seen him. His dark hair was plastered to his forehead, his gray t-shirt clinging to the athletic build he maintained with religious gym sessions. Even devastated and waterlogged, he was beautiful. I hated myself a little for noticing. "I'll grab you a towel," I said, forcing myself to move, to be useful, to be the friend he needed instead of the guy who wanted to be so much more. "And some dry clothes." "Thanks, Alex," his voice cracked on my name. I returned with my favorite worn NYU hoodie, the one he'd borrowed countless times, the one that always came back smelling like his cologne, and a pair of sweatpants. "Bathroom's all yours, I'll make coffee." While the shower ran, I busied myself in the kitchen, trying not to think about Tyler naked in my bathroom, trying not to wonder what had happened with Michelle, trying not to hope for things I had no right to hope for. I'd gotten good at this over the years, the mental gymnastics of loving someone who could never love you back. It was like a sport now. I should get a medal. The coffee was brewing when Tyler emerged, looking smaller somehow in my oversized clothes. He'd scrubbed his face clean, but his eyes were red-rimmed. He'd been crying. Tyler never cried. "Okay," I said, handing him a mug. "Talk to me, what happened?" He took the coffee but didn't drink it, just wrapped his hands around the ceramic like he was trying to absorb its warmth. For a long moment, he didn't speak, just stared into the dark liquid like it held answers. "I broke up with Michelle," he finally said. I sat down across from him at my small kitchen table, trying to look supportive instead of secretly, shamefully relieved. "Why, I thought things were good." "They were. She's perfect." He laughed bitterly. "That's the problem, she's perfect and I still couldn't. I don't know, man, I couldn't feel what I was supposed to feel." This was familiar territory. Tyler had had this conversation before about other girls. He was a serial dater who never seemed satisfied, always looking for something more, something different. I'd always assumed he just hadn't met the right girl yet. "What are you supposed to feel?" I asked gently. He looked up at me then, and something in his expression made my breath catch. It was vulnerable and scared and searching. "Like I can't breathe without them," he said. "Like they're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing before I sleep. Like even when they're right next to me, I want them closer. Like," he trailed off, shaking his head, "I don't know, like how you describe feeling about guys." My stomach dropped. We'd had conversations about my sexuality before. I came out to Tyler sophomore year and he'd been nothing but supportive, but he'd never really asked for details and I'd never really offered them. It felt too dangerous, too revealing. "That's not exclusive to being gay," I said carefully. "Straight people can feel that way too." "But I don't." His voice was raw with frustration. "I never have, not with Michelle, not with Sarah before her, not with anyone, and Michelle deserves someone who feels that way about her, so I ended it." "That must have been hard." The worst part? He laughed again, that same bitter sound. She wasn't even surprised. She said she could tell I was holding back, that I was always somewhere else even when I was with her, and she's right, I am always somewhere else. Where? I asked before I could stop myself. Tyler's eyes met mine, held them. The air between us felt suddenly thick, electric. I don't know, he whispered. That's what's killing me, I don't know. We sat in silence for a moment, the only sound the rain still pounding against my windows and the occasional rumble of thunder. This storm had rolled in out of nowhere, violent and unexpected, appropriate given the night we were having. You can stay as long as you need, I finally said. The couch is yours. Actually, Tyler bit his lip, a gesture that absolutely did not make my heart skip. Could I maybe sleep in your room? I know that's weird, but I really don't want to be alone right now. This was a bad idea, a terrible idea. My bed was a queen big enough for two people who were careful about not touching, but being that close to Tyler in the dark in the intimate space of my bedroom, that was asking for torture. Sure, I heard myself say, of course. Because that was what I did, I said yes to Tyler always. My bedroom felt smaller with Tyler in it. We'd shared sleeping spaces before, hotel rooms on road trips, that terrible air mattress at his cousin's wedding, countless hungover mornings crashed on various couches. But this felt different. Maybe because of what he'd said in the kitchen about being somewhere else. Maybe because I was hyper-aware of every breath, every movement, every accidental brush of skin. I gave him the side of the bed closer to the window, which meant I was between him and the door. Protective instinct maybe, or maybe just wanting to keep him close. We lay in the dark, both on our backs, carefully maintaining a few inches of space between us. The rain had softened to a steady patter against the glass. Tyler's breathing was uneven, like he was trying not to cry again. Do you want to talk about it? I offered quietly. Not really, a pause, maybe I don't know, another pause, can I ask you something? Anything. When did you know that you were gay? I told him the sanitized version before, that I'd figured it out in high school, had a few crushes on guys, came out in college. But I'd never told him the whole truth, never told him about the specific moment everything clicked into place. Never told him it was because of him. I guess I always kind of knew, I said carefully, but I didn't really accept it until college. Was it scary accepting it? Terrifying, I admitted. I spent a long time trying to convince myself I was wrong, that if I just tried hard enough, wanted it badly enough, I could be normal. Normal, Tyler repeated bitterly. What does that even mean? Exactly, I eventually realized normal is bullshit. There's just what's true for you, what's real. He was quiet for so long I thought maybe he'd fallen asleep. Then, what if you don't know what's real? What if you've spent so long telling yourself one thing that you can't tell the difference between what you actually feel and what you think you're supposed to feel? My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. Tyler, are you questioning your sexuality? The silence stretched out, heavy and loaded. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. I don't know, maybe, probably, yes, he exhaled shakily. Fuck, yes, I think I am. Of all the scenarios I'd imagined over the years, and I'd imagined plenty, this had never been one of them. Tyler was my straight best friend. That was the immutable fact around which I'd built my entire understanding of our relationship, the wall I used to protect myself from hopping for too much. And now he was dismantling it brick by brick. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Okay, that's big. How long have you been thinking about this? A while, months maybe, I don't know exactly when it started. He shifted, rolling onto his side to face me. I could see his outline in the darkness, the gleam of his eyes. I keep trying to remember if there were signs when I was younger, if I missed something. But I was always into girls, you know, I had crushes I dated, I never looked at guys and felt anything. Sexuality can be fluid, I said, falling back on the academic language I'd learned in gender studies classes. It's not always fixed, some people don't figure it out until later. But what if I'm wrong? The vulnerability in his voice cracked something in my chest. What if this is just, I don't know, some kind of crisis? What if I blow up my entire life trying to figure this out and it turns out I was just confused? Tyler, I rolled to face him too, our faces now only inches apart on the shared pillow. First of all, you're allowed to question, you're allowed to not have all the answers, and second, this doesn't have to be some huge dramatic thing. You don't have to label yourself or come out or make any big declarations. You can just explore what you're feeling, figure it out at your own pace. How do I do that? He whispered. How do I figure it out? The question hung between us in the dark, loaded with possibility and danger. I knew what he was asking, I knew what he wanted, and I knew I was about to make either the best or worst decision of my life. Well, I said slowly, some people find it helpful to examine their attractions, not just physical but emotional. Who do you think about? Who makes you feel that breathless thing you were talking about earlier? You know who. My heart stopped. Tyler. It's you, Alex? His voice broke. It's always been you. You're where I am when I'm somewhere else. You're who I think about when I wake up and before I sleep. You're who I want closer even when you're right next to me. And I don't know what that means or what to do about it, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel it anymore. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This wasn't happening. This was a dream, had to be a dream, because Tyler Matthews was not lying in my bed confessing feelings for me. Since when? I managed to ask. I don't know, that's what's so fucked up. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was always there and I just couldn't see it. Maybe it was gradual, but somewhere along the way you stopped being just my best friend and became more everything. You became everything. Tyler, you're emotional right now. You just broke up with your girlfriend. Maybe you're confusing friendship feelings with romantic ones. Don't do that. He sounded almost angry now. Don't therapize me or rationalize this away. I've spent months doing that to myself. I know what I feel. What do you feel? I needed to hear him say it. Needed to be absolutely sure before I let myself hope. I feel like I'm losing my mind every time you go on a date. I feel like my chest is going to explode when you laugh at my jokes. I feel like I want to touch you all the time and I have to physically stop myself. I feel like, his voice caught. I feel like I'm in love with you and I have been for a really long time, and I'm terrified because I don't know if you could ever feel the same way about me. If I could feel the same way. As if I hadn't spent 6 years desperately in love with him. As if every other guy I dated hadn't been a poor substitute, a way to forget about what I couldn't have. As if Tyler wasn't the reason I'd moved to the city after graduation, the reason I'd stayed when I got job offers elsewhere. The reason my life revolved around Thursday night dinners and weekend gym sessions and stupid action movies on his couch. Tyler, I breathed, I've been in love with you since sophomore year. The confession hung in the air between us, 6 years of pent-up longing finally released. Tyler's breath hitched. What? Sophomore year, spring semester. We were studying for philosophy finals in your dorm room and you fell asleep on your textbook. You had drool on your face and Cant printed backwards on your cheek, and I looked at you and just knew I was completely, hopelessly in love with you, and I've been dealing with it ever since. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were straight, because you were my best friend and I didn't want to lose you, because I didn't want to be that gay guy who falls for his straight friend and makes everything weird. I laughed, but it came out choked. Looks like I failed at that last part anyway. All this time, Tyler said wonderingly, we've wasted all this time. You weren't ready, you needed to figure yourself out. I'm still figuring myself out. I don't have all the answers. I don't know if I'm gay or bi or what label fits. I just know that I want you. Is that enough? It should have been a red flag, the uncertainty, the lack of clarity, the risk of getting my heart broken when he inevitably decided this was a phase. But I'd been waiting 6 years for this moment. 6 years of watching him with other people, of pretending I was fine, of loving him from a careful distance. I was done with distance. It's enough, I whispered. And then I kissed him. Kissing Tyler Matthews was nothing like I'd imagined, and I'd imagined it approximately 10,000 times. In my fantasies, it was always smooth, cinematic. He'd cup my face, I'd thread my fingers through his hair, we'd melt together like we'd been doing this forever. Reality was messier, more desperate. His lips crashed against mine with no finesse, all urgency and 6 years of repressed want. Our teeth clacked together, our noses bumped. It was awkward and perfect and everything. Is this okay? He gasped against my mouth. Am I doing this right? There's no right way, I managed, pulling him closer. Just what feels good. You feel good? He kissed me again, slower this time, learning. His hands were in my hair, on my face, mapping me like he was trying to memorize every detail. God, you feel so good. We kissed like drowning men gasping for air, making up for lost time. His stubble scratched my face. His hands were everywhere, tentative, then bolder. When I sucked on his bottom lip, he made a sound I'd never heard from him before, needy and raw. Alex, he breathed, I've never. I know. I pulled back enough to see his face, flushed and wanting in the dim light filtering through the window. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for, we can just kiss. We can stop, whatever you need. I don't want to stop. His eyes were dark, pupils blown wide, but I'm nervous, I don't know what I'm doing. Neither did I the first time with a guy, it's okay to not know. I traced his jawline with my thumb, marveling that I was allowed to touch him like this. We'll figure it out together. Together, he repeated like he was testing the word. I like the sound of that. We kissed again, slower now, exploratory. His body was familiar, I'd seen him shirtless countless times at the gym, had casual physical contact the way close friends do, but this was different. This was Tyler pressing against me with intent, Tyler's legs sliding between mine, Tyler's sharp intake of breath when I ran my hands down his back. Can I? He tugged at the hem of my shirt. Is this okay? I sat up enough to pull it over my head, then helped him with his. Skin to skin for the first time, and it was electric. He was all lean muscle and warm skin and rapid heartbeat against my chest. You're shaking, I murmured. I'm terrified, he admitted, and so turned on I can barely think straight, no pun intended. That made me laugh, which seemed to relax him. He smiled too, that crooked grin I loved, and suddenly we were just us again, Alex and Tyler, best friends who'd been through everything together, except now we got to be more. We really don't have to do anything else tonight, I said seriously. This is already huge, you just came out to yourself like 3 hours ago. I know, but I've been thinking about this for months, and now that I finally can, he kissed my neck, making me gasp. I don't want to wait anymore unless you want to wait. Did I want to wait? I'd been waiting 6 years, but I also didn't want to rush him, didn't want him to regret this in the morning. I want you to be sure, I said, I need you to be sure. He pulled back to look at me, his expression serious. I'm sure about you, I'm sure about how I feel, the rest, the labels, what it all means, I'll figure that out, but this, us? I've never been more sure of anything. Okay, I breathed, okay. What happened next was a blur of sensation and emotion, fumbling and learning and discovering each other. Tyler was enthusiastic but clumsy, asking questions, checking in, making sure he was doing things right. It was endearing and frustrating, and so completely him. When he touched me for the first time, really touched me, his hand shaking slightly with nervousness, I had to close my eyes against the intensity of it. This was Tyler. Tyler's hand, Tyler's breath hot against my ear, Tyler whispering my name like a prayer. Is this good? He asked. Tell me what you like. I guided him, showed him, and he learned quickly. When I returned the favor, his reaction was everything, head thrown back, eyes squeezed shut, a litany of oh God and yes and Alex please. We didn't go all the way that night. It felt too fast, too much. But we explored, learned each other's bodies, discovered what made the other gasp and moan and beg. And when we finally collapsed together, sweaty and satisfied and emotionally wrung out, Tyler pulled me close and buried his face in my neck. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For being patient with me, for waiting, for not giving up on me even when I was too stupid to see what was right in front of me. I kissed his forehead. I'd wait forever for you. You don't have to anymore, he yawned, his body relaxing into sleep. I'm here now, I'm finally here. I held him as his breathing evened out, as his grip on me loosened into sleep. The storm outside had passed, leaving just the gentle sound of rain and the occasional rumble of distant thunder. Tyler was asleep in my arms, in my bed, after confessing his love and kissing me and touching me like he'd been thinking about it as long as I had. It felt like a dream, it felt too good to be real. And as I drifted off to sleep, Tyler's warmth solid and real against me, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, this time I'd wake up and he'd still be there. I woke to sunlight streaming through my window and an empty bed. For a moment, panic seized me. It had been a dream. Of course it had been a dream. Tyler wasn't questioning his sexuality, wasn't in love with me, hadn't kissed me like I was oxygen and he was drowning. Then I smelled coffee. I pulled on sweatpants and padded into the kitchen to find Tyler at my stove, wearing just his borrowed sweatpants, his back muscles moving as he flipped what appeared to be pancakes. He turned when he heard me and his smile was tentative but real. Morning, he said, I hope you don't mind. I couldn't sleep anymore and I figured after last night you deserved breakfast. Last night, so it had been real. You're making pancakes, I said stupidly. Your pancake mix was expired, so I ran to the corner store, also grabbed fresh coffee because yours was running low. He plated a pancake, added it to a growing stack. I remembered you like them with way too much syrup and butter. He'd gone shopping, he was making breakfast. He was shirtless in my kitchen like this was normal, like we did this every day. Tyler, I started, not sure what I was going to say. He set down the spatula and turned to face me fully. Before you say anything, I need you to know something. I didn't freak out. I'm not having regrets. I woke up this morning and you were still sleeping, and my first thought was how right it felt to wake up next to you, so if you're worried that I'm going to panic and run, don't be. Relief flooded through me so intensely my knees went weak. Okay, good, because I was definitely worried about that. I know, he crossed to me, took my hands. And I get it, this is weird and new and kind of terrifying, but it's also the most honest I've felt in years, maybe ever. So what happens now? Now we eat pancakes, then maybe we talk about what this means, what we want, how we navigate this. He squeezed my hands. But first pancakes, because I made way too many and they're going to get cold. The pancakes were perfect, and eating breakfast with Tyler felt both completely normal and entirely surreal. We'd had countless meals together over the years, but this was different. Now his foot kept finding mine under the table. Now when he smiled at me, it wasn't just friendly, it was intimate knowing. Can I ask you something? Tyler said, soaking his fourth pancake in syrup. Always. Sophomore year, when you realized you had feelings for me, what happened? I mean, we saw each other all the time, that must have been torture. I thought back to those early days when the realization was fresh and painful and all-consuming. It was. For a while, I considered distancing myself, thought maybe if I saw you less, the feelings would fade. Why didn't you? Because you needed me? I remembered it clearly, Tyler going through a rough patch with his family, his dad's health crisis, how lost he'd been. Your dad had just had his heart attack. You were barely holding it together. I couldn't abandon you just because I had inconvenient feelings. His eyes softened. I remember, you were the only thing that got me through that semester. So I stayed, and I learned to compartmentalize, learned to be your friend and nothing more. I pushed pancake around my plate. There were times it almost killed me watching you with other people, but I'd rather have you as a friend than not have you at all. All those girls I dated, Tyler said quietly, I think part of me was trying to prove something to myself, maybe, that I was normal, that I could feel what I was supposed to feel, but none of them were you. What about Michelle? You seemed really into her at first. I was trying really hard to be into her. She's amazing, smart, funny, gorgeous. On paper, she's perfect for me, but something was always missing. He looked up at me. Turns out that something was being in love with my best friend. When did you know? I asked. You said you've been thinking about this for months. When did it start? He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Do you remember that night in September? We went to Jake's birthday party and you brought that guy you'd been seeing. Marcus. Right, Marcus, you two were dancing and he had his hands all over you and you were laughing at something he said. Tyler's jaw tightened at the memory. I wanted to punch him, I wanted to drag you away from him. I told myself it was just protective friend instinct, but then I went home and couldn't stop thinking about it. About him touching you, about you looking at him like that. I broke up with him 2 weeks later, I said. Why? Because he wasn't you, the words hung between us. None of them were ever you. Tyler reached across the table, laced his fingers through mine. I'm sorry it took me so long to figure this out, sorry you had to wait. You're worth waiting for. I don't know what I'm doing, Alex. I don't know how to be in a relationship with a guy. I don't even know what to call myself. Am I gay? Bi? Does it matter? It matters if it matters to you, I said, but you don't have to have all the answers right now. You're allowed to just be, to explore and figure it out as you go. What if I mess this up? What if I'm terrible at this and I ruin everything? Then we'll figure it out together. I squeezed his hand. But Tyler, we need to be honest with each other about what we want, what we're comfortable with, all of it. Communication is going to be really important. Okay, he took a deep breath. Then I'll start. I want to be with you, like officially. I want to try this for real. My heart soared. I want that too. But I'm not ready to tell people yet. Is that okay? I just need some time to figure myself out before we go public. It stung a little, the idea of keeping us a secret, but I understood. Coming out was a deeply personal thing and Tyler needed to do it at his own pace. That's fair, I said. Take all the time you need. You sure? I don't want you to feel like I'm ashamed or hiding you. Tyler, I've waited 6 years. I can wait a little longer for you to be ready. I stood, moved around the table to pull him up into my arms. We'll figure this out together. He kissed me, soft and sweet and tasting like maple syrup. Together, he agreed. The next few weeks were simultaneously the best and most complicated of my life. In private, Tyler and I were inseparable. He spent most nights at my place learning how to be with me, learning how to be with a guy. We took things slow, partly because he was new to this, partly because I wanted to savor every moment. Every kiss, every touch, every quiet morning wrapped around each other felt like a gift I was afraid to unwrap too quickly. In public, we were exactly what we'd always been, best friends. We met up for lunch, hit the gym together, grabbed beers on Friday nights. Nobody questioned it because this was our normal. Except now, every casual touch felt loaded with meaning. Every inside joke carried the weight of what we were hiding. It was exhausting, it was exhilarating, it was everything I'd wanted and nothing like I'd imagined. I feel like I'm living a double life, Tyler confessed one night, both of us sprawled on my couch after a long day. At work, everyone keeps asking about Michelle, asking if I'm doing okay, if I need to talk. And I want to tell them I'm better than okay, that I'm happier than I've been in years, but I can't. You could, I said gently, if you wanted to, if you were ready. I know, he trailed off, frustrated. I don't even know what I'd say. Hey everyone, turns out I'm not straight, I'm dating my male best friend, surprise, it feels too big. It is big, coming out is always big. I ran my fingers through his hair, something I was still getting used to being allowed to do. But you don't have to make some grand announcement, you could just live your truth, bring me to work events, post photos of us, whatever feels right. What if people are weird about it? Some people will be, some people won't care, some will be supportive, you can't control how others react. I tilted his chin up to look at me, but Tyler, I need you to be honest with me, are you ashamed of us? What? No, he sat up, eyes wide. Alex, no, I'm not ashamed, I'm just scared. Of what? Of everything changing, of losing people, of disappointing my parents, he laughed bitterly. My dad literally had a heart attack when I told him I was dropping out of pre-med. What's he going to do when I tell him I'm queer? You don't know that he'll react badly. Don't I? You've met my parents, they're traditional religious, they have very specific ideas about who I'm supposed to be. He started packing. And it's not just them, it's my whole family, my coworkers, my friends from home. Everyone has this idea of who Tyler Matthews is, and this, he gestured between us, this doesn't fit that image. I felt something heavy settle in my chest. So what are you saying? I'm not saying anything, I just need time. How much time? I don't know, the frustration in his voice was palpable. Why are you pushing this? I'm not pushing, I'm asking reasonable questions about our future. We've been together for 3 weeks, Alex. Can we just exist for a while before we start planning our future? 3 weeks in a vacuum, sure, but we've been best friends for 6 years, it's not like we just met. I tried to keep my voice level, but hurt was creeping in. I'm not asking you to marry me, I'm just asking when I get to stop being your dirty little secret. That's not fair. Isn't it? Because that's what this feels like. We're together when it's convenient, when no one's watching. But the second we step outside, I'm back to being just your buddy. You know it's more complicated than that. Do I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you want all the benefits of being with me without any of the actual reality of it. Tyler's face flushed red. That's bullshit and you know it. I'm dealing with a major identity crisis here. I'm trying to figure out who I am. Sorry if I'm not moving fast enough for you. This isn't about speed, it's about... I stopped, took a breath. We were fighting, really fighting, for the first time since we got together. Look, I don't want to fight about this. Neither do I, he ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I recognized as stress. But I need you to understand where I'm coming from. This is all new to me. The attraction to men, the relationship, all of it, and I love being with you, I do, but I'm also terrified of losing everything else. You won't lose everything. You don't know that, you can't promise that. He was right, I couldn't. When I came out, I'd lost some friends, got some strange looks from family, but I'd also been prepared for it, had done it on my own terms and timeline. Tyler was being rushed into it by virtue of being with me. I'm sorry, I said quietly. You're right, I'm pushing too hard. No, I'm sorry. He crossed back to me, pulled me into a hug. I know this is hard on you too, being secret, having to pretend, that's not fair to you either. We stood there for a long moment, holding each other, both of us trying to figure out how to navigate this impossible situation. What if we compromised? I offered. You take the time you need with the big stuff coming out to family, being public, but maybe we could tell some people like our close friends. Tyler pulled back to look at me. Who did you have in mind? Sarah and James, they're both cool, they wouldn't judge, and they're your friends too, not just mine. He considered this. Okay, yeah, that feels manageable, small steps. Small steps, I agreed. If this story touched your heart, show your support by liking this video. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories like this. Your support keeps these stories alive, thank you.